This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
The following is a Red Apple Podcast Network presentation.
They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it.
Welcome to Dominic Carter's podcast. This is Dominic Carter's City Hall. Now, here's Dominic Carter.
Red Apple Podcast, Talk Radio 77 WABC. You can listen to me, Dominic Carter, weekday afternoons, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then back again live weeknights at midnight until 1 a.m. Also at Sundays, 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. The Trump opposition is trembling. Their lies can't stand up to the truth, to cut through the noise and expose the cold, hard facts. Recently at the White House, I sat down with 3 heavy hitters of the Trump administration. This is my podcast. Let's go. If you think the establishment in Washington is comfortable, think again. While at the White House, we sat down with Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council, and Kaylin Dorr, who returned to the White House as a deputy assistant to the president. This is the battle for America, and Trump's team is leading the charge. Perhaps we should call White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt the Truth Crusader. She's taking no prisoners, and I love it. The numbers don't lie, folks. Trump signed 4 times the executive orders of Obama and Biden in his first month. Action matters. Democrats talk. Trump is delivering. And let's talk about results. A 95% reduction in illegal border crossings. Not 10%, not 50%, but 95%. That's what leadership looks like. And the savings, a $50 billion cut from bureaucratic fat. Remember when Democrats promised to slash government waste? Well, they failed. Trump is getting it done. And his press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, is almost working around the clock to keep America informed. And we are starting out with a major player in Washington, the press secretary for President Trump, Caroline Leavitt. It's so nice for you to be here with us. Thank you.
Of course. It's my pleasure. Thank you for coming to the White House.
So it's great to be here at the White House. It seems like from watching you from day one that you are putting the press on notice. You are putting the media in check. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say?
I hope so, because I think that's one of the many responsibilities of my job. It's to effectively communicate President Trump's message. It's to speak the truth, and it's to hold people accountable for their lies. And so we're trying to do all 3 things every single day. President Trump makes my job very easy because he is doing exactly what he said he would do, and he's delivering on the promises he made to the American people every day.
Is he ever going to slow down in a month? I mean, look, I don't know how you can do your job because look at the things that he's done. A comment that I've made, and I mean this sincerely, he's done more in 3.5 weeks than President Biden did in 4 years.
It's Absolutely true. I mean, look at the monumental change President Trump has made. He's actually signed quadruple the executive orders that Obama and Biden signed within 4 weeks. So he's taken as much executive action as he can. He's pushed on Congress to pass, of course, the budget reconciliation, which is underway. He also signed the Laken Riley bill, a big piece of legislation, which was his first bill to sign. And look at the results already. I mean, the border, 95% decrease in illegal crossings at our southern border in just 4 weeks of executive action by this president. You look at the CEOs of massive American companies who are saying they are going to return their jobs from overseas here at home because of the president's tariff policies and his deregulation and his energy agenda. And, you look at Doge and the savings that it's having for American taxpayers, $50 billion thus far in 3 weeks.
Billion.
They've identified 50 billion with a B, yes.
Wow. So now, you're a new mom, correct?
I am.
A brand new mom?
Yes, I am. A 7-month-old baby. Baby
7
boy.
months old,
Yes.
and now you're the press secretary, basically, for the United States of America.
Yes, that's true.
How do you like your job so far? What are your hours?
I love my job. It's 24/7, really. We get here around 7 in the morning. We don't leave until very late at night. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a blessing, and we're changing our country, and we're saving our country. And so we're all willing to do that hard work. And we work for the hardest working president in American politics, Donald Trump, who is working for the people of America and the people of New York every single day to make this country and your state better for them.
I close this way. What do you say to the haters, to the Trump haters, that no matter what, he's saving money in terms of finding fraud, but the AOCs of the world, they're still hating on him no matter what he does? What do you say to them?
To the Democrats who are whining and complaining about the cost-saving measures of Doge in this administration, they should go back and take a look at what their own party's leaders have said. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Chuck Schumer himself have vowed for cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. They all campaigned on this. The only difference is President Trump is the first person to do it. And they just don't like it anymore because it's Donald Trump doing it. But they should go and look back at the statements from their own party leaders. And President Trump won't be deterred by people whining and complaining. He's going to continue to do what the American people elected him to do, which is make this government more efficient.
You have a lot to do. A lot of people are waiting for you right now. So I'm going to let you go. But our owner, John Katzimatidis, says hello. Margot Katzimatidis,
Yes.
They say hello to you and thank you. And good luck with your job, because you have an impossible job to do.
Well, thank you so much.
Again, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt. Now let's talk about the economy. The Biden administration can try to sugarcoat history all they want, but the truth is brutal. Inflation isn't just a problem, it's a crisis, but help is on the way. I'm asking Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council for President Trump, to break this all down for me, as well as the outrageous cost of eggs. Why? Why am I doing this? Because the money pit grows deeper, and guess who's paying? You, I, the American taxpayers. And right now, we are joined by Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council. It is so nice to see you, sir.
Oh, it's really great to be back on WABC.
Well, fantastic, and it's great having you. So talk to me about, if you will, addressing inflation and what's the right way to go about this. You have mentioned in the past a multi-pronged approach to deal with this. What's the right way?
That's right. Well, the wrong way, we learned from Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden, is to have the government spend recklessly and print money to cover the expenses. When that happens, you get inflation. And Barack Obama's own chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors just wrote a paper that showed that infrastructure spending, remember they had this big infrastructure bill under Biden?
That's right.
Actually went down in terms of if you count the bridges and so on, because Biden inflation was so high that by the time they spent the $1 trillion trying to expand infrastructure, that it was all whittled away by inflation. And so they got actually less out of the infrastructure bill than they thought because of inflation. And so inflation really, really harms the country. And if you spend like crazy, then that's going to be a problem. What President Trump is doing is he, along with Elon Musk, have been leaders in finding the crazy things that we spend our money on and getting rid of them, and also working with Congress to have a reconciliation package, they call it, right, or a big budget deal, which is going to cut the heck out of spending, but also increase supply. It's one of those things that, back in the day when I used to teach intro economics, you would sort of say, well, if you got a lot of supply, then the prices go down. So if all of a sudden there's a bumper crop of apples, then when you go to the farmer's market, apples are cheaper. But if there's a blight and there are almost no apples, then apples are more expensive. And so you can have a lot of demand for apples that can make the price high, but supply is important too. And so President Trump is really, really putting the pedal to the metal on supply, and he's cutting government spending as well. And that's going to get inflation under control. But it's not going to happen overnight because we inherited an inflation disaster from the reckless Biden administration.
And so this may not necessarily be your area, but the one thing that I hear from Americans across the country is how expensive the price of eggs are.
Sure.
And when you hear that, what goes through your mind?
Well, it's something that the president has instructed us to focus on very, very closely. I could tell you that I grew up with chickens around, and we had 20, 25 chickens, and that's a lot of eggs, and so I can remember my family would be, bringing the extra eggs around to neighbors or taking them to the nursing homes and stuff like that. And so I, know quite a bit about chickens, not just for being in the White House. And I could tell you that Brooke Rollins, the new Secretary of Agriculture, it has a really, really detailed plan that she's going to put out over the next week or two to control the avian flu crisis that Joe Biden just ignored. And so the Biden administration's policy was to ignore avian flu, and whenever you saw a dead chicken, to kill every chicken within tens of miles of the sick chicken. But it's a thing that I like to think when I ask people about the Biden policy, have you ever seen a chicken fly? Okay, well, they can a little bit, but they're just like flying across the room. Okay. So imagine if you got a sick chicken and you're trying to protect the chicken from 20 miles away, why do you have to kill all the chickens between the sick chicken and the chicken 20 miles away? It just makes no sense. But this is what the Biden people did. And so our government is going to stop, senselessly killing chickens, which is what the Biden people did. And we're going to have a sensible, biosecure barrier around the sick chickens so that you can get your eggs back. And it's one of the things that I hope people notice about President Trump is that he's got a multi-level plan for just about everything. And so we've got the macroeconomics covered on spending and tax reform to have supply-side tax cuts. And we've got the smallest thing that it's a really important thing to people, but all the way down to having the team study everything about avian flu and chickens. And so if you want to know that, did you know that chickens lay eggs for about 18 months?
I did not.
The ones who lay eggs last for 2 to 3 years. The ones that are broilers last for about 3 months. Anyway, I'm the director of the National Economic Council, and this is the kind of stuff the president has directed us to study everything that Americans care about. And, we're not getting a lot of sleep, but we literally know things like that because the president has ordered us to respond to the American people. And so Brooke Rollins has spent nothing but the last 2 weeks getting ready to stop the avian flu outbreak. And I hope she's successful, but President Biden let it get completely out of control.
Well, if the president is not getting much sleep, I'm sure his team, because he works nonstop around the clock.
I can't keep up with him, and he's older than me.
I don't know the media can't keep up with him. I mean, he goes nonstop.
Yeah.
But you've been a strong advocate for the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. What are your plans for renewing these tax cuts, and how do you anticipate they will continue to benefit American families and businesses?
Well, President Trump was very thrilled to see. I went over and was briefed by the Speaker of the House in the Speaker's office last week, but he was thrilled to see that the members of the House had agreed to adopt President Trump's full agenda, and to make it permanent. And so President Trump's leadership is getting Congress to get coordinated and get these things passed. And we believe that they will be passed. Of course, it's going to seem at times like it's not going to happen because this guy's holding out for this or that lady's holding out for that. but I'm highly comfortable that the Trump tax cuts will be extended, but also the new ideas that he brought up about overtime and so on, and tips, removing taxes on those are going to be in the package too.
I guess I do need to ask you about this, and we are chatting with Kevin Hassett, the Director of National Economic Council. How does the administration, we've heard the president talk a lot about tariffs, how does the administration plan to balance the use of tariffs to protect domestic industries while at the same time maintaining healthy international trade relationships?
Well, President Trump has said that he supports reciprocal trade. And so it's kind of like golden rule, really, that he wants us to treat our trading partners the way they treat us. No more, no less. And so if they have a 30% tariff on us, then we put a 30% tariff on them. If they don't have a tariff on us, then maybe we don't have a tariff on them. And so President Trump's view is that America has been kind of played for chumps for the longest time by our trading partners. Here's an example.
Chumps.
Last year, chumps. Imagine, last year, U.S. Taxpayers paid foreign governments, because of their tariffs and their value-added taxes, $370 billion in taxes. So that's, say, over the next 10 years, if they keep doing it, it'll be $4 or $5 trillion in taxes that Americans are paying foreign governments. Meanwhile, foreign nationals paid the U.S. government $57 billion last year. So they come, you got a foreign company and they sell a Mercedes here or something, they pay some tax. But think about it, we have a quarter of world GDP. They have 3 times the cumulative GDP that we have, and we pay them $370 billion. They're paying us $57. And so President Trump's view is that's got to stop. American taxpayers should be funding their own government, not other people's governments, and that's what we're doing.
I close this way, and we are chatting with Mr. Kevin Hassett, who is the Director of National Economic Council. People listening to you right now, they want to know, bottom line, when are things going to get better? They feel good about the Trump administration. Many things are happening in a positive direction for America, in which America first. But when are the economic policies going to get better? So to the people listening to you right now, worried about they're one paycheck away from disaster and so on, when are things from the awful Biden years going to get better?
They're getting better right now. And I'll give you an example to close. That, they have this thing called the Consumer Price Index, but it's the measure of inflation. Inflation is one of the things that has people the most upset, as they should be. But did you know that in the government's measure of inflation, they don't include interest rates? So if you buy a car, then the cost of the monthly payment has doubled under Joe Biden, but they don't count that as inflation because they just look at the price of the car, not what your monthly payment is. And interest rates went up so much because of their inflation and their terrible policies. And the point is that already markets see that we're not going to do that anymore, and market interest rates have dropped about half a percentage point since President Trump has inaugurated, which means that when you go buy a car now, when you get a loan, that your monthly payment is going to be significantly lower already. Now, it's going to get a lot better than it is now. We inherited an economic catastrophe from Joe Biden. President Obama's top economic advisor just wrote an article. The title of the article was The Tragedy of Bidenomics. And so we've got to fix a lot of stuff, but already help is on the way. And if you wonder about it, look at interest rates. Go to a car dealer and talk about what's happening to car loans.
Well, Mr. Hassett, thank you very much. Kevin Hassett, the Director of National Economic Council, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to see you.
Again, President Trump is fighting to extend the 2017 tax cuts, the same cuts that boosted American businesses and put more money in your pocket. And don't forget the president's push for reciprocal trade. No more one-sided deals. No more globalist sellouts. America first, always. Now, the war against woke insanity. You want to talk about restoring common sense? Well, let's chat to Keelan Dorr, a deputy assistant to the president. No matter how much the courts try to slow him down temporarily, President Trump is shredding the woke agenda piece by piece. Amen. Amen. And again, let the church say amen. DEI initiatives wasting billions gone. Fraudulent Social Security payments. Trump is cleaning house. Meanwhile, the radical left is in full meltdown mode over transgender athletes. Here's the reality. Fairness in sports matters, and Trump is standing up for the truth while the left tries to dismantle biological reality. And let's not forget the media war. Kaylin Dorr knows it's not just about policy, it's about messaging. And with me right now, we are joined by Mr. Kaylin Dorr, the Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Communications Director. Mr. Dorr, thanks for spending some time with us.
Man, it's all my honor. I'm so glad that you guys showed up today, that you took time out of your schedule to come here and meet with us. This is something we're going to do fairly regularly. We're going to bring people in from all across the country. That's what we're doing today. And we're excited because you guys are the media now. It's not the legacy folks are feeling it after November.
Yeah, they're done. They're done, basically. It's a new day.
That's right, baby.
It's a new day. Well, we'll take it. We'll take it because President Trump ran strong during this campaign, and he is delivering each and every day on the promises that he made for the American people. So the first 30 days, okay, you know what? Let's start there before I get to any questions. I say the first 30 days, you say what?
You know, I'd say we're restoring logic and common sense to the American people, right? I think, like, ultimately, this past election was a referendum on the platform of gaslighting and of absolute nonsense and illogical thought that the Democrats ran. When you take a look at what we're doing, we're simply just restoring common sense to basic things, eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government, doing things like eliminating DEI requirements. We're out there. The most important one to me, I've got a newborn daughter. I've always worried about this when we had her. No men and women's sports, man. That shouldn't have been a difficult thing to do.
Well, why is that so? I have to stop you right there. It's ridiculous. First of all, DEI is the wrong thing for America. It's divisive. It doesn't bring people together. And when you look at the fact of men and women's sports, transgenders in women's sports, you have a newborn daughter. How did we even get to this point in the country where, quote unquote, this was considered normal, particularly under the Biden administration?
You know what I'll say about this is that there is an entire economy out there that I don't think we talk about enough. And that is like the attention economy. It's been bred by, social media outlets and things like, look, I love social media. I'm a grown man though. So I can handle it a little bit differently than some of these folks. But the most drastic things are rewarded with attention in their society. And what could be more attention grabbing or more drastic than, mutilating a child and allowing them to do things like participate in the wrong gender sporting events? I mean, it really is sick and twisted, and it comes from, again, like I said, where we live in a world where logic is like an afterthought, where you're told to not believe what's going on in front of your own eyes. This is the result you get. And so, Dominic, I want to talk about something that's important to me is that, the left or the opponents to this administration, they want to ultimately divide the American people. They win, right? They win whether it's votes or power or whatever sick, twisted thing that they're looking for. They win when you feel alone, man. When you're like the only person who thinks or talks or eats or prays the way that you do, that's when that's their wheelhouse. That's where they feel really strong and powerful. And that's why they hate President Trump so much. And they hate that we're going after all these entitlement programs. They don't like DOJ going after all this fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that is ultimately the ideological battle, the spiritual battle that we're watching day to day, boils down to simply that. They just want you to feel alone, man.
Well, in New York, this is a big issue, right? So and it's a big issue for the country.
Yeah.
Fraud, waste, and abuse. Who in their right mind can be against that? And the Democrats are screaming bloody murder. I don't get it. I mean, I know what it's the Trump factor. Simply because he's putting the country in the right direction, they can't take it. You say what?
Well, I think, look, I think at the end of the day, the opposition to anything that the Doge guys are doing is grounded either in deep, deep insecurity that they are replaceable, which, is definitely a thing. Like if you, this is a totally hypothetical because you are the best in the biz. Say you're not,
thank you.
And you're showing up to work every day and you're insecure about your job performance and you're not, the best of the team or whatever. Of course, you're going to sit there and think all day, oh, I could get canned at any moment, right? That's what these guys are doing. They're like, oh, man, they're freaking out. They're insecure about their place in the world. They know that what they're doing is total nonsense. And the argument that, oh, what's a couple billion or $1 million between friends for condoms in Gaza, for example, is absurd. No one, what are you doing with that much money for condoms, man? That's insane. I don't care what country you are or what you got going on. That's an absurd amount of money to spend on something so it's seemingly silly and optically stupid. And so, we talk about the fraud, waste, and abuse a lot here because I think that's going to be one of the defining things that we do here in the first 30 days. And, I expect the president to continue to talk about it. It's important because it's so easy. And it's something that everyone can see, like sending payments out to, folks who are 200 plus years old or whatever it might be.
Can you believe that?
Everyone can agree that that's not a thing.
Can you believe that the president stood at Mar-a-Lago showing how people were receiving Social Security and they're over 120, over 130 years old, over 140 years old, and millions of dollars.
Yeah. Again, what's $1 million between friends, man? That's the argument. Look at what the opposition is arguing, right? In a time where inflation is going to come down, but it needs work, right? Our economy needs work because we just went through 4 years where there was a cadaver in the White House. They either want to quibble over millions of dollars going to nonsensical programs when those dollars should be spent wisely to free up you to go live your version of the American dream, right? They want to stifle you so that they can send condoms to Gaza. It's ultimately, I don't know how you can sit and look at something like that and say you're on not the right side of history because that feels a little drastic, but to say that you're a logical human being is insane.
And we are chatting right now with Kaylin Dorr, who is the Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Communications Director. I have two questions before I let you go and we move on to our next guest. And don't think I didn't catch that we had a cadaver in the what was the term?
The cadaver in chief,
right? For the last 4 years. And talking about the last 4 years, President Trump hit the ground running, right? I mean, absolutely running. So in 3.5 weeks, he's done more than what the Biden administration did in 4 years. You know that. I know that. Anybody that's being reasonable knows that. The 4 years where President Trump was out of office, I contend that those 4 years helped him to focus on where exactly he wanted to take America when he got back in office. You say what?
There's nothing more powerful in life than a second chance. And I think President Trump not only got that, when people were taking pot shots at him in Butler, Pennsylvania, but he got that by securing this election, right? I'm sure you sit awake at night sometimes, or you've had those nights where you've been like, man, I wish I'd handled X, Y, or Z differently. Or, I wish I'd done something in high school that I hadn't. Or, I can't believe I said that cringe thing in this, meeting today. You never get a chance to go back and redo it, but President Trump has. He's learned a lot, and you can see it by how targeted and by the sheer volume of things that we've gotten done on day one. It's mind-boggling, and it's broken opponents of the administration's agenda. They don't know how to handle it. I mean, they just genuinely, they can't handle this much winning, man, and that's what we're seeing. And so, we talk about how and why he's gotten it all done. Obviously, how is he's had 4 years to plan, and the theme is America is back. And I think you're going to continue to see that theme over and over and over. We're restoring American greatness in a way that we haven't seen in a long time, man. And this is just the I can tell you, this is just the beginning.
Wow. So I'm going to close this way. Number one, I'm feeling the beard. I like the beard.
You like this?
Yeah, I like the beard. It's good.
I don't know. You guys, there's no camera here to catch. You guys, you're missing out by not having Dom on camera here.
Well, I'm feeling your beard. But number two, before we move on, I want you to explain for the public at large what exactly, in your title, the Deputy Assistant to the President, Deputy Communications Director, what exactly is your job, and what is it you do specifically, Mr. Doerr, for the President?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. I don't think no one's asked me that yet. So I'm flustered. No one asked me about myself. No, I'm here. I was a veteran of the 2016 campaign. I served both in the White House and the Treasury Departments last time. And then I went to be a CMO in the 2020 election. This go-around for this White House, I'm very blessed to not only help put on events like this that we're doing today, where I think upwards of 50 outlets are coming through, and we're going to do, well, maybe not 50 outlets, but over 50 or 75 interviews in under 3 hours. I mean, we're ultimately, my goal is to cut through the clutter and get right to the American people. I know I was more influenced by Rush Limbaugh than I was by anyone on TV, so I get it, and I understand the value of what you guys are doing. It's very important. So I not only do the media fairs, things like, booking, making sure you get the best guests in the business, but also do all the digital here, which is a very, very, very hot topic nowadays.
It sure is.
And I think, again, the theme is America is back, and we're going to be irreverent, and we're going to be unapologetic with our outreach going forward. I know we've triggered a lot of folks. I just say to those folks, it's going to be a long 4 years.
And triggered is a great word to use in concluding this interview, because you're right. You have triggered. President Trump has triggered the left, and they don't know what to do. From AOC to whoever, they don't know what to do with themselves. Mr. Keelan Doerr, Deputy Assistant to the President, Deputy Communications Director, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. White House Deputy Assistant to the President, Keelan Doerr. On behalf of the Trump administration, his job is to cut through the digital smokescreen, speaking directly to the American people. America is at a crossroads. The Trump administration is delivering results, cutting waste, and restoring order, while the left is locked in chaos. The facts are clear, the battle lines are drawn, and the truth will not stop being exposed. So, to the media elites, the bureaucrats, and the spineless politicians, America is watching. America is listening. And for once, you are being held accountable.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Chevrolet. Chevy certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Chevrolet.com/service to learn more.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
Anyone can follow. It takes something special to be an original. which is why the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV arrives with new ways of surrounding you in luxury, including the ultra-wide 48-inch panoramic display and the multi-sensory Lincoln Rejuvenate experience. A true original never stops evolving. So meet the 2025 Navigator, the original that's all new and better than ever. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Lincoln and Navigator are trademarks of Ford or its affiliates.
And that is all the time we have for this episode. You can listen to me, Dominic Carter, weekday afternoons, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then back again live at midnight until 1 a.m. And on Sundays, 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. Red Apple Podcasts, Talk Radio 77, WABC.
I gotta make it.
Dominic Carter Socials on Twitter at Dominic TV and Facebook and Instagram. Dominic Carter TV. Email at dominic.carter@wabcradio.com. Until the next episode, be well. And as Dominic always says, stay positive. The glass is always half full, never half empty. Dominic Carter City Hall.